Ben McKee, Patrick Brown, Go Vols 24/7 here on campus, wrapping up day 2 of Tennessee Fall Camp. Tennessee hit the practice field this morning, still in the indoor facility. I think they may have gone out for a period or two.
They did finish outside, yeah.
It will not stop raining, and because of that, they don't want to put a lot of wear and tear on the grass outside. And also, you don't want somebody to slip and tear something, twist something. So they were in here. And in terms of availability, I thought on the good news front, Lance Hurd was a little more active today.
Yeah, he's still doing individual drills a little bit with the offensive line. I don't think he did much team stuff. I think they're going to work him in slowly on that side of it. Did see a little bit from Brew McCoy today, ran a couple routes, but they're going to be cautious with him and sort of ramp him up over the course of the month as well.
Yeah, Peyton Lewis was one of the freshmen who spoke following practice, and he updated his status and essentially said he was good to go and is just working his way back into things and just trying to become more comfortable within the offense.
Yeah, he very mature, as like a lot of these freshmen are that Tennessee has brought in, and a guy that he kind of probably wished he was available for spring, but there were some issues that he needed to get up physically, and once he knew that if he got that cleaned up, he could still play this season, I think he was on board with that and tried to make the most of watching spring practice, taking notes, taking mental reps, trying to get everything down that he can so he could hit the ground running here now that he's been cleared and doing everything in camp. He's got a chance to play early with the way the backfield is, with Cam Seldon still working his way back. And pass protection is going to be big for him. He talked about how it's mostly mental, physically, I think he can hold up and handle that side of it, but got to know where to go and let that talent come out. But he's got a lot of speed, comes from an I formation offense, which Tennessee's not going back to, so don't get your hopes up. But a guy that has a chance to be sort of a little bit like Jalen Wright with some of his straight line speed and his ability to hit the home run. And if he has a good camp, he'll have a shot to play early.
In terms of practice, before we get to some more post-practice comments, in terms of practice, reading our observations up on the site at Go Vols 24/7, sounds like you spent a lot of time watching the defensive backs and the offensive line as well, and some of the rotations there. We saw routes on there, of course, but I know both of us were down watching the O-line and kind of their combinations as well.
Yeah, it looked like Dane Davis was getting a little work at left guard. I think he's still maybe place holding a little bit for Lance Hurd at left tackle when they do some team stuff, but he still is maybe in the mix there at left guard. He can play across the offensive line, probably will end up being maybe the third tackle when it's all said and done, maybe the backup center, although they're in the individual stuff, we still see Cooper Mays, Tyson Lang, and William Satterwhite working there. So we'll see how that plays out. For the offensive line, it's going to be really about when the pads come on here in a couple days. That's when the offensive line and when the tight ends, which we'll get to, that's where we'll learn more about those groups. And the receivers, looks like a really explosive receiving group. They've got some guys that can move really well, good body control. I think you pointed that out with Chris Brazo on our podcast that is on the site now. So they've got a good-looking group of skill players and a lot of guys around Nico Iamaleava who can help who can catch his passes and keep him upright in the pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. And tight ends is one of those positions, as you mentioned. Tight ends coach Alec Ablin was the coach today that spoke following practice, and two things stood out to me. He talked about how much more comfortable he is recruiting these days compared to when he first got the job.
Needed some divine intervention there.
He did, and he seems to really, really like his room and the potential of his room going into the season.
Yeah, we've seen Tennessee the past 3 seasons under the staff. It's been 2 guys. It's been a tandem. It's been Jacob Warren, and then it was Princeton Fant for 2 years. Then it's McAllen Castles last season. He made it sound like they could play 3 guys there this year. Now we'll see how all those roles and snaps shake out, but they've got Miles Kitzelman, who's a transfer, who's been a surprise a little bit from Alabama. Holden Stays was maybe the big name transfer coming from Notre Dame. And then Ethan Davis is a former top 2-7 prospect, played with Travis Hunter and a couple of those guys down in Atlanta, was getting SEC basketball offers, so he's a great athlete, really looks the part. Abram was really complimentary of how far he's grown both physically and mentally over the past year, up to 245 pounds. Likes the way that Kitzelman and Stays have really jumped into the offense and are starting to maybe play naturally a little bit. That was a big thing with Castles last season coming from another offense. It's hard to learn this one. That tight end position has a lot of responsibilities, but he thinks they can use 3 different guys in different ways. They've got some different skill sets there, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the course of camp, see who starts there and how they sort of divvy up those snaps.
Lastly, the other 2 freshmen that we spoke to, Braylon Staley, Bennett Warren, receiver, offensive tackle. Staley working in the slot right now, Bennett Warren working at right tackle. In listening to those guys, it just seems like they're just trying to to just try and slow down and become more and more comfortable within what they're doing in the offense.
Yeah, Bennett Warren is a massive human being.
Massive.
I don't know what his wingspan is, but it looks like the size of it's the hallway in there. I mean, he's got long arms. He looks like you would want a prototypical SEC offensive tackle to be. He joked that he was 220 pounds as a freshman in high school, then went to 270 as a sophomore, was 300 as a junior, and left as a 330, and he's 335 pounds now, and he carries it really well for a guy that, he worked with some NFL offensive linemen, including Zach Fulton, the former Vol, back down in Houston, his hometown, over the course of the spring months. So you wonder what some of these non-early enrollees are doing. He was obviously making sure he came in really good shape, and he's learning a lot right now. There's a big adjustment going from where he's coming from to playing at this level, but certainly a guy that looks the part, maybe a down-the-road guy, but they're obviously excited about what they brought in with him.
Day 2 of Tennessee Fall Camp is in the books, and we've got plenty of Day 2 coverage up at the site at GoVols247.com. Tennessee off tomorrow. They'll be back in action on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and we'll have plenty of coverage of it all at GoVols247.com. He's Patrick Brown. I've been McKee.